We were having an argument with both media, meaning the reporters, and the government. They were more or less saying that, yes, we know there's some violence in Mississippi, but really the reason people aren't registering to vote is because they're apathetic. They don't really want to do this. If they're sharecroppers, they're not really that interested in registering to vote. And do you really want people who have little to no education participating in the political process? It was an argument we were having. What we had to do is show, well, no, it's unreasonable to expect people to register to vote in any significant numbers if they have to go to county courthouses and wade through members of the Ku Klux Klan or White Citizens Council and say they came here to register to vote, knowing that the word will get back to wherever they came from, and they might, like Mrs. Hamer, lose their job, or they might suffer violent reprisal or something like that. So you said the better way to do voter registration is to do it where people are comfortable inside their community. So why not have voter registration places in churches or stores or wherever? And we had, before the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, we had a freedom registration. I forget, we had 80 and 90,000 people sign, less than we thought, and that has to do with violence and intimidation still. But still, we demonstrated a significant interest in registering to vote, which means participating in the political process. Then to reinforce the argument further, we decided to have a freedom vote. And again, we had our own slate of candidates. It was November of '63, I guess that was. Aaron Henry, the state president of the NAACP, ran for governor. I think Fannie Lou Hamer ran for Senator James Eastland, Senate seat. And to do that, of course, we organized a Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. That was their party. And Mississippi had a fairly obscure law that if you showed up to vote and you weren't on the official list, your vote couldn't just be torn up. It had to be set aside for later consideration. So we sent people to the polls to vote, knowing full well they were not on the, well, we're using every device we could think of to force this issue of who gets to vote and who doesn't. So that led to a conversation about the legitimacy of the state Democratic Party. Now, SNCC had a research department. It's the only civil rights organization that had a research department. It was run by an eccentric guy from New Orleans, Jack Bittis. Drank too much, smoked too much, but was brilliant. So the question for us is, well, what are the rules for forming a party in the first place, being a Democratic Party in Mississippi? We were conscious of the fact that in '64, the Democratic Party National Convention was going to be held in Atlantic City, New Jersey. So Jack does this research, and he finds out that actually the rules for selecting a delegation to the Democratic Party's National Convention are pretty progressive. And basically the rules demand complete transparency. You announce these meetings, where they are, at what time, in newspapers, you post them. The problem is the Mississippi Party doesn't follow those rules at all. They sit up at the county store or someplace like that, or some bar, and say, well, Joe, you want to be a delegate this year? Okay, you can go. And so we decided to follow the rules exactly. And we immediately ran into problems. We would try to send people to the precinct meetings, which start the process. And the first problem is, A, a lot of these meetings aren't announced. Two, you show up and there's some guys with guns at the door saying, you're not coming in here, and things like that. The story I like to tell about this process is Aaron Henry, because it tells you a lot about how Mississippi politics was. Aaron Henry, the state president of the NAACP in Mississippi, and also the president of COFO, the Council of federated organization, was a Clarksdale, Mississippi pharmacist. And he shows up at a precinct meeting in Clarksdale with 20 people. And they go in, and it turns out they outnumber everybody. There's only 7 other people there plus the chair. So they completely outnumber the meeting. And the chair sees this and adjourns the meeting. And he goes out and he recruits enough white people to outnumber Aaron Henry's delegation, and they elect, they don't elect any of Aaron Henry's delegation. Well, according to Doc, he said the next day, this white guy shows up at his pharmacy and thanks him. And he says, I want to thank you for showing up at that meeting with your people, because we've never participated in these meetings, and we wouldn't be participating in these meetings if you hadn't showed up. So you could see just from that little incident how closed this process is. And that's really what the MFDP was challenging.